in a me honor. Cause this a DJ Puffy Ram session.
Fighter. He don't want to fight a real fight. He wanted to drain me down and fight a shell of me, which I'm not going to allow him to do. Now they didn't move the goalposts and move the finish line closer and have me weigh in all these extra days early and then pull a plug on the fight like we don't want to fight. My team 100% still wanted to fight, still ready, willing, and able to knock out Jake Paul on August 6th. So y'all blame your boy Jake Paul for this fight not happening. It ain't had nothing to do with me or my team. We let them know what the real was, and Jake Paul scared to make the fight. All he gotta do is say, okay, I beat you up at 230, I beat you up at 215. I'm still coming down in weight, or I beat you up at 210. I'm still coming down in weight, but he don't want to do it because he don't want a real competitive fight. He wanted me to be a shell of myself when we got in there and got in that ring.
Mike Coppinger broke the story that it'll be Regis Prograis versus Jose Zepeda for the vacant 140-pound title ordered by WBC. Jose Ramirez was set to meet Zepeda for the vacant title but withdrew due to a conflict with his wedding. Purse bid on August 30th if there's no deal. Ramirez is mandated for the winner, sources tell ESPN. Eddie Hearn, Tyson Fury isn't the biggest draw in boxing. Anthony Joshua still is. But yes, he's a huge star. But I am loyal to AJ, and I think Fury knew that when I was discussing signing him when he was 400 pounds. But you never know what could happen in the future. Via British GQ. Clarissa Shields. Good Sunday cool down 6 weeks and 4 days it's work time. Working hard as always. Already on weight, this fight going to be interesting. But every man want go whatever me say it. German and Syrian dance. Rance Barthélemy writes the following after his loss to one of the Gary Russell boxing family of black leprechauns via TKO. He and many others believe the fight was stopped way too early, as he writes. I call bullshit, I was ready to leave it all in the ring. Thank you to anyone that tuned in. I doubt he actually wrote this, as black Cuban fighters are habitually adverse to or simply refuse to use English. The tone implied by the phrase I call bullshit sounds suspiciously like what a white dude would say or write. Devin Haney writes terrible referee.
But you know what's making it difficult is this guy Barthélemy switching softball. Yeah. They're there's the shot, and Regis Barthélemy goes down. 6, 7, third time in his career. No. Referee Sade Murdoch, 13 years pro experience, working his 246 professional fight, has just stopped.
Boxing trainer Henry Ramirez feels there's a double standard being applied in favor of Danny Garcia over Ryan Garcia in regards to the fans' response to both fighters' claims about their mental health. He writes, Danny Garcia getting a lot of praise for being honest and open about what he went through. As he should. So why then was Ryan getting shit on and accused of making it up when he spoke about the same very issues? Ryan Garcia wrote in reference to the matter, Danny Garcia is another great athlete with a great heart. The greatest warriors deal with eternal battles and we are just talking about them to help the next warrior so he can see that battle before it comes so he can prepare beforehand. Hashtag mental health awareness. On the other hand, Errol Spence hasn't got time for that stuff. As he writes, Danny and his pops need to stop making excuses of why they lost to me. Nobody trying to hear that shit for real. Laugh out loud. I don't care about none of that weak ass shit. People trying to figure out how they gon' pay their mortgage or rent every month, etc. Like I said, I don't give a fuck about none of that and I don't care who thinks what about what I care about a rich nigga being depressed. I'm sure my elders felt worse than me. Former Mayweather Promotions fighter, former 154-pound champion, and current Twitter boxing critic Ishe Kamau Ali Smith has a few things to say about the situation leading up to the Jake Paul vs. Hassan Rahman fight cancellation. He's been clashing with a few people on Twitter over Jake Paul and events surrounding Jake Paul. So let's start with this tweet directed at boxing writers who questioned his take on weight cutting. We now have writers telling me it's not asinine to lose 15 pounds in 3/4 of a week. I don't care how long you have covered this sport or how long you have been writing about this sport. Cutting weight is the most unhealthy thing about this game. It's not easy and totally effing sucks. The only thing I blame Hassan Rahman Jr. for is he should have never agreed to the fight. Cutting that much weight at heavyweight. He was never going to make it. But money and opportunity, I can't blame him for trying. But let's not act like fighters don't miss weight. They do it all the time. I'm super old school. I came up in a gym where I got to train with Gerald McClellan, Azuma Nelson, Terry Norris, Roger Mayweather. This Jake Paul shit bothers me. I have watched boxing spit and chew people out, leave them utterly brain dead. Ryan Garcia somehow chose to respond to Ishe Smith, writing the following. Weren't you the one screaming, Ryan, focus on Fortuna, not Tank, he can beat you. I barely know who you are. I'm glad you think your opinions matter, but in all truth they don't. Just keep watching and hoping someone comes up you can talk on. Ishe Smith then dumped on poor little mentally fragile Ryan by writing the following back to him. Laughing my ass off at Ryan Garcia. Ask your trainer about me, just maybe if you start taking tough fights and stop running your fucking mouth so much you'll be more respected. How did that fight with Manny pan out? Obviously, you were listening if you're quoting me. I ain't the one, my dude.
I'm not afraid of blush over my bar. I'm not afraid of blush over.
Ishe Smith has some very provocative thoughts about why Jake Paul is getting ranked by the WBC. He states the following. America is starving for a white superstar boxer so bad they'll crown a guy a champion who's fought retired MMA fighters and former basketball players. It's always been like this, they want one so bad they are moving the goalposts. Absolutely pathetic. Jake Paul has one pro boxer on his resume, and it hasn't happened yet. I'm not backing down from my statements. But Paul has no business being ranked even if he beats Rahman. This whole wave is because he's a white man in a country that has always strived to hope a white man can be a superstar boxer. If Paul was Mexican or black, this shit would not happen.
I would like to see your face, you name.
Truth hurts, and I'm not on the LDBC shit where everything is about race. But when it comes to this, I agree. When I went head to head with LDBCers, most of y'all were cool with it, and I still feel the same about them. But when I go after Paul, it's a different energy. I'm going to speak my mind regardless of whether you agree or not. We can be civil about it. Agree to disagree. It would appear as if Hassan Rahman is going to have to bear the brunt of some of the fallout from his fight against Jake Paul being cancelled. My initial instinct was to roll my eyes at the predictable chaotic scenes that were bound to surround a Jake Paul show whether the fight took place or not. Then I thought, A bit harder than I probably should have about it. I watched Hazem Rahman Jr. try to give his side of the events leading to the cancellation but couldn't stay intrigued nor sympathize with him. He signed a contract with prior knowledge that the terms and conditions he was getting into were going to be damn nigh impossible to fulfill. He signed it out of greed, knowing that the weight demands were going to be absolutely impossible to meet by him. But he and his team probably felt that Jake Paul, who was using Rahman Jr. as a rebound because Tommy Fury did not make the fight, would not want to see another fight cancelled. And as long as he was able to get down to some acceptable weight which he and his team felt would entitle him to claim they had done their best, Jake Paul would most likely cave in and go along with the fight. This wasn't actually about the fight for the Rahmans, who seem to have the worst business acumen in the world. They are also opportunists of the worst kind. It would appear that they tend to act like starving dogs and seize on mediocre short-lived opportunities out of simple greed and a lack of ethics and morality. They sued Mayweather due to the infamous Mayweather Gym Doghouse sparring sessions being used on one of Mayweather's Fight TV promo slots, which by chance featured one or two of the Rahmans. They saw an opportunity to make a quick buck without an ounce of regret. This led to Cuba Arias, a middleweight boxer and an affiliate of both Mayweather and the Rahmans, being banished from Mayweather Promotions at a very crucial time in his career. Mayweather demanded that Arias choose between loyalty to Mayweather Promotions or the Rahmans, who were suing him. And Arias chose loyalty to the Rahmans and ended up in Boxing Siberia. They were also part of the heavyweight Michael Hunter's team and probably still are. Especially observing how poorly Hunter's business decisions have been of late, despite showing so much promise to start with. Hunter went from being associated with Top Rank and Matchroom to fighting on Triller for fast money and absolutely no respect. Hunter habitually calls people out and then bails out of negotiations. The last stunt he pulled was against the Croatian heavyweight Filip Hrgović. This recent set of circumstances, combined with the lamentable history of the Rahmans hitherto, accurately reflects how disastrous Hazem Rahman Sr. and his family have been. Setting aside his surprise knockout of boxing legend and last true undisputed heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis back in 2001 in South Africa. In conclusion, I think that Jake Paul recognized a bunch of bullshitters because he is a good one himself. He played along just to see whether anything good could be salvaged from the situation. What he gained from this fiasco was a promise from the WBC to get ranked, which one must presume will carry over into another set of circumstances involving a different opponent for Jake Paul. Hence, when Jake Paul realized for certain that the Rahmans were on their own time in regards to making weight rather than keeping to the word and spirit of the contract they had signed, he pulled the plug. And he pulled the rug from underneath them.